Hello, and today I would like to show you how to set up a displacement inside your VEX material builder or a VEX shader. So, if you're not familiar with this, this is just a basic setup. I just created a principal shader, changed the color, computing the lighting, and just exporting the surface output. But we're going to talk about the displacement output here in a second. But before that, I'll give you a quick overview. So, I just have a basic grid, then adjusting the dicing scale or dicing quality. And the higher the dicing quality, the more subdividing the render engine will do in the initializing phase. Maybe if I can show you if I restart the render. Okay, I need to first create some displacement. We'll see that later, that there's an initializing phase. So then I have just a material library, assign material, doom light, and just render geometry, or sorry, render karma settings, and I haven't changed anything. But maybe what I can note here, you can also change the overall or the global dicing quality scale here. Also, what I usually do, I set this to 0 because this would mean that the karma will not dice or subdivide the geometry that's not in the camera view. This could be very important if you're having scenes which have a lot of reflective materials, because in that case you can see in angles which are not in the camera directly, and in that case you should enable the off-screen quality, but majority of the times you're not really working with with high reflective scenes, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'll hop into the VEX material builder, and we'll start creating, or we'll create a displacement using our turbulent noise, the same way we would do in a not pop VOP, but a attribute VOP in sub level. So we're just taking the current position, so we can think of it as the current position of all points. We're creating a turbulent noise and adding it to it. Of course, set this to 3D. Then we can plug this into the P. But as you can see, something happened, but it's not entirely correct. So I'll pause this. And the reason is the camera or render engine needs to have proper normals to actually calculate the bouncing of the light properly. So the way you create or the way you adjust your normals, because currently we adjusted our position, but the normals are still, let me actually resume. Our normals are still facing upwards because our grid is essentially flat. So how to fix that? There's a very handy note, and it's a very simple shading normal. Nothing else. So my new normal, here I'll grab my new position and my previous normal. Now you can see if I disconnect this, the difference is quite significant. Before we had a lot of rendering issues, or a lot of rendering artifacts, which it looks weird. Suddenly, as you plug your normals or your adjusted normals, it looks a lot better. As I mentioned before, inside here, we can set this to, let's say, set it to 8, and we can see that there's the initializing phase. This will take longer and longer as you keep upping the dicing quality. I usually never go as high as 8, but maybe if you have some smaller scenes or some meshes which are flat, you might want to up this in, or up as high as 8. Of course, it depends on your scene. So I'll put it back to 3. And what I also wanted to talk about is you can also use ocean sample layers. And the same thing. You create your displays, or you create your, you'll plug your values here. So your file, which is going to be your spectrum, maybe your mask if you have, and all these settings here. I think you're familiar with them. And then you'll just create the displacement. The displacement, as you can see, is a vector. I'm pretty sure you need to actually convert that because this is in a local space and you need to transfer it into a global. But you'll just plug it then into your position the same way you would. You have also other different attributes, but this is just about purely displacement, so I'll continue talking about the displacement. If you're maybe wondering how to add multiple noises or textures, so the shading normal is just the last step. You'll need just a single shading normal. In this input, you'll plug always the original. So you'll always take your displacement or global variables and you'll take your normal and plug it here. The position, on the other hand, you want to take your final position. So let's say down the line, I maybe added again another A noise For example, let's say set this to 3D position, like so. Let's restart this, like so. You can see we have, yeah, actually you can see right now, a quick note. If you remember, we disabled the off-screen quality, or the dicing off-screen quality, and you can see that there's displacement happening, but since this grid is very low res, we're getting these, or it's not very high res, so you can see that this setting here actually works. And yeah, as I mentioned, this works the same way as VOP works. The only catch is you need to adjust your normal. So I hope to learn something new. Also, you learned how dicing works, and I'll see you again. Bye.